Welcome to Philly TechConnect podcast, where Philly's tech minds meet. CEOs, developers, dreamers. This is your space. Each week, we explore the journeys of tech innovators. Join us and be inspired.
Hey everyone, Dave here with another episode of the Philly TechConnect podcast. Every week we interview another member of the Philly Tech Entrepreneurs community. We learn a little bit about them, their journey, what brought them here today. And today we're speaking with Nolan Makatche, and he's going to be sharing about his entrepreneurial journey. He's a graduate from Penn State with a degree in engineering. He's started and stopped different projects. He's been at incubators, accelerators, he's been in multiple communities, including PTE. And right now, his approach is to build as many small bets as he can because you just need the right one to be a winner. He's been working on a browser extension called SafeSelect, which helps online shoppers avoid toxic ingredients in the products that they buy. You know, specifically people that maybe have allergens or diet restrictions. He is currently part of a program called Build Space Season 5. So what's up, Nolan? How's it going?
Hey, Dave, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've come out to the events and everything. I know we talked at Sierra Green. We talked recently in Old City. You told me about SafeSelect and everything. So it's always cool to have that evolution with a community member bringing you onto the podcast. Tell us a little bit about your time at Penn State, pursuing engineering, and then how that led into entrepreneurship.
Well, my entrepreneurship journey actually started well before that when I was a young kid, like 7 years old. My first experience was like me and my cousin started a drink stand on the beach in Sea City, New Jersey on a hot summer day, just selling drinks. And it was an easy sell to sell cold drinks on a hot day, but plus it was great money for a 7-year-old. So that was like my first experience with entrepreneurship. And from there, I had a couple of side hustles as a kid, and I also worked normal jobs. And the compare and contrast between having a normal job and a side hustle was just night and day for me. With a typical job, I would work at a restaurant or like a retirement home or do some construction or something like that. I hated the repetitiveness of it. And I also didn't like how my inputs weren't tied to my outputs. So if I worked twice as hard as the person next to me, I'm getting paid the same hourly rate. So I didn't really enjoy that aspect of it. And from there, that was opened my eyes to realize that entrepreneurship is my purpose in life and that I should have probably avoid working for other people if I can. So from there was really no turning back. I went on to Penn State from there. I got a degree in multidisciplinary engineering. And once I graduated, I decided to bet on myself rather than pursue a normal job. And I got started in e-commerce, but I actually got bored with e-commerce really quickly. So I started to look for other options and let purpose be my compass. Eventually, I pivoted into web development. I had to teach myself, though, because I didn't know much web development from engineering school. I knew some coding, but not much web development at all. They did not teach us any JavaScript or anything in engineering school. So I had to pick that up myself. And the inspiration for this came after I was listening to a podcast one day, actually. It was Peter Levels talking on the podcast. I think it was My First Million. And he was talking about indie hacking and the build in public community. And it just opened me up to a whole new world that I didn't even know existed. So that was when I really pivoted. And with indie hacking, I kind of fell in love with the aspects of freedom and the challenge of wearing many hats. And I also find software and technology fascinating in general. So it was just a much better fit for me.
Yes, yeah, I love the classic story, the lemonade stand kind of approach, and then how that evolves into other businesses. What's cool is that you had that contrast at an early age. Yeah, I worked in the movies in the summer, and yeah, it wasn't that fun. Inputs weren't really tied to outputs, but I didn't really know that there was another option. It really took me years from then on to even kind of understand that people start their own side hustles and things like that. And once you've done it, you realize how addictive it is to have a little bit more control over your own fate and destiny, so to speak. I'm shocked that in an engineering degree that there isn't more, web development part of the program. It seems to me like so necessary, and it's smart of you to teach yourself that, because if you've already got the business mind, which it seems like you have now to complement it with the skill set, that's pretty neat. So you have been taking this approach of doing a lot of small bets. Tell me what the logic is behind that.
So with entrepreneurship, you only need to be right one time to win. So my approach is to minimize my time invested in each product before getting feedback. And then if I get traction, I keep building on top of that idea. But if not, then I move on quickly. That's my approach. Rather than have all my eggs in one basket, I like to spread them out and see if I think my luck is better if I do that. That's my way of increasing increasing the odds in my percentage, because when you're doing a SaaS, the odds are already stacked against you. So you need to do whatever you can to make them a little bit more in your favor.
Yeah, I like the concept. I think that by nature of the approach that you're taking, it limits how much you would invest in any one product, which is really like a lot of what is taught with sort of the MVP lean startup approach to making sure that we don't overinvest in a product before we put it out and gotten some type of feedback from the market and things like that. It's tricky though, because you have to come up with lots of ideas. So where do some of your ideas come from for the different projects that you're going to pursue? How do you prioritize them?
Okay, so I'm constantly coming up with ideas. I keep a note just filled with them. Most of them are horrible though, and I won't ever see the light of day, but it's kind of just to get my mind in the maker mindset where I'm always looking for problems to solve. And to come up with an idea and decide on it, I have constraints. So I make sure I'm solving a problem that I have myself so that I understand it thoroughly, and I'm not solving problems from the outside looking in. I also want the MVP to be built in less than a month. So the scope on the project needs to be very narrow. Sometimes it's just a single feature. That way I can, like I said, minimize my time invested before getting feedback. I'm also trying to solve major, they call them painkiller products. It's a product that solves a true need in the user's life. So not a vitamin product or a candy product, as you would say. I try to make sure I'm solving problems that are real pain points in the user's life and products that will improve their life. Those are some of my constraints that help me narrow down the list. Eventually, I want to start to focus on just business to business. But for now, I haven't found the right opportunities for that yet. So my philosophy is I need to keep building more startups, and I'll be finding pain points for businesses in that process. And that's when I'll pivot into business to business.
Nice. Yeah. So that kind of brings us a bit to SafeSelect. So it's kind of like the product of the month right now. This is the one that, you're working on the most. Where do you feel like this fits into, hey, this is a painkiller, it's not a vitamin or a piece of candy? Where did the idea for this come from? Why do you feel like this is something that, people need?
Okay, so let me tell you the story behind SafeSelect. The inspiration for this project initially came from one of the lessons I learned from my mom's battle with stage 4 stomach cancer. Her diagnosis was related to the products she used and her lifestyle. So I learned from that health needs to come first, because without health, nothing can come next. And now I'm very health conscious because of that experience. But it's a challenge to know what food or personal care products are safe nowadays. Regulations tend to lag behind science, and our product safety regulations in America also lag behind other parts of the world, like the EU, for instance. So there are many known harmful ingredients in the products we use every day, and it's our responsibility to avoid them. But it's a pain to do that. I buy most of my groceries online to save time, and there's other apps out there like Yucca, and I love that app, but it's mostly designed for in-person shopping. And it's designed for in-person shopping because it depends on barcodes. So with SafeSelect, the goal is to fill this gap by building a solution that could simply just read images and text of ingredients or nutrition facts and let you know what products are safe and meet your custom dietary guidelines. I also talked to people about this, and a lot of them have the same pain points. It seems like a good problem to solve.
I like the concept. I think of myself as relatively health conscious, and my wife is as well. She does a lot of the food shopping and cooking, and we do a lot of online grocery shopping. I mean, we do both, honestly, but we definitely do a lot online as well. And,
Nice.
you don't really know. Obviously, certain brands and labels present themselves as healthier, but I think that to some degree, they're maybe just trying to appeal to the current trends that people are looking for healthier things. But that's more of marketing and design. It's not actually in the ingredients themselves. And if you actually were to look at the ingredients, you would see that there's a bunch of junk in there. So naturally kind of making this a browser extension, I think makes a lot of sense. And we talked at the last event about, hey, is there a way to maybe even niche this down further to be specifically about people with allergies, or maybe they're pregnant mothers, or they have these really strict, diet restrictions? Because I think that's where it goes from, this nice to have of, hey, I generally try to follow a healthy lifestyle, but my life doesn't depend on these groceries like today, to, hey, this is actually like super important to where I'm at in my life, and I need to abide by this. It's an interesting concept. Where are you at in the development?
So the MVP will be ready in around 3 weeks. That's my estimate right now. I do have the landing page live though, and people do have the opportunity to buy SafeSelect product scan credits at a discount right now. I have an early bird sale where you can buy them at 50% off. You just go to safeselect.app and you can feel free to join our waitlist while you're there and be the first to know when we go live. I just announced the landing page was live and reached out to some warm leads this morning, and I was pleasantly surprised to get our first sale. I'm hoping that that's some validation, but I don't want to get too excited too early. So I'm going to wait for a couple more sales to come in before I really get too excited about it.
That's cool though, man. Congrats. You know, when I've had products, I didn't get a single sale. So it
Me
is,
too.
it is something, yeah, like to get that one and then to try to get to that 10 and then to get to that 100 and like to hit those milestones. And that's when you start to have a sense of being onto something. But I think it's a cool concept when it's live. Definitely launch it in the Slack chat. Like we have a humble brag, for example, where you can kind of put it out, get some feedback on it. I definitely think there'd be people willing to give it a shot. We're excited to see how the journey, follows you. For people that just want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you're working on, where should they go?
So they could reach out to me on LinkedIn, Nolan Makatche, or Twitter. I'm also Nolan Makatche on there. I also have a podcast. You can find me on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, and I'd be happy to talk to you if you want to reach out.
What's the podcast about?
It's basically just document my journey bootstrapping SaaS. So it's sharing my lessons along the way. And in the future, I want to have other founders on to talk about just tech, the intersections of tech, science, and business, because that's all interconnected. And just have some interesting conversations with interesting people. That's the goal of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to be on it when you make that transition. Thanks a lot,
Awesome.
Nolan, for being on the show with us today and for being a member of the community.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. It was great talking to you.
That's all for today's episode of Philly Tech Connect. Join our community at phillytechentrepreneurs.com. Special thanks to our sponsor, shortlist.io, a digital marketing agency specializing in top-notch link building, content strategy, and web design. Stay innovative, Philly, and see you next time on Philly Tech Connect.
A Lifetime Value Media Production.